My mother is a unique breed of person. She's bubbly and wonderful in so very many ways. She smiles and it lights people up. She touches pregnant bellies. She gives away things that seem like someone else might need it more. She is always thinking of someone else before she thinks of herself. This was such an occasion, a life lesson in compassion that would come to shape who I became as a person. It was a day like any other. My mom was rushing us out of the house. She was a teacher and she had to be there long before school started. She had a standing policy that if you did not make it to the car on time, she would leave without you. And you would reap the consequences whether you didn't go to school or you had to find your own way. And this had happened to me many times. Days, in fact, that I went to school without shoes because the choice was get shoes or go to school, and somehow school seemed more important than footwear. Luckily, this was not one of those days. I had made it to the car, and we were on our way to school in our Dodge Grand Caravan, or Psycho Van, as it was called, since her vanity license plate read just that, Psycho. We made it to school and proceeded with our day as if it were like any other. My mother, the wife of a career Navy man, had figured out how to work and raise children without going crazy that often. So she was a voice to some other moms who were new to the idea of being alone for so long. Sitting in the room of my mom's preschool class, waiting on kids to arrive, a mother stepped in with her 4-year-old daughter and her brand new baby in tow, sobbing uncontrollably. She sat down in a tiny preschooler's chair and she continued to cry. And my mom, without uttering a word, came over, picked up the baby, and asked me to play with Abby, the 4-year-old. This mother was struggling from postpartum depression with 2 small children. And her husband had come home from sea and decided that he no longer wanted to be with her or their family. I then listened as my mother recounted the story of my father's struggles and their desire to maintain their marriage during long periods of separation, and how they had almost gotten a divorce. I watched my mother show kindness and compassion to someone she didn't know and share her deepest emotional wounds with this person. And 2 days later, she and her beautiful kids were at our house for dinner that night, and the next night, and the next night. We were at their house or they were at ours. We carpooled together. We celebrated holidays, and just like that, our family had grown a little bit bigger. Now, this continued to happen throughout my life. She welcomed people into our home. I watched her give of herself to others because it came naturally to her. My mother silently served others and selflessly acted on a daily basis and passed those values on to me through a lifetime of kindness. She drove me to find the value in humanity that is absent more often than not these days. And sometime later, I asked her about this moment, and I said, why? Why was she so kind to people she didn't know? And she simply replied, why not? This is so my mother. The simplest of explanations in answer to what I thought was a very complicated question. The answers to the big questions seem to be very clear for her. My mom is someone who hasn't taught just one lesson. There's never one story. My mom was always a hero and a friend. She always came to my rescue, and her love never ends. We walked a journey together, just us two, walking steps as mothers and daughters that no one knew. At 9, I was bullied, and my mom, she stood tough. She was rarely rowdy, but this fired her up. At 14, she was sick in the hospital, 8 months, and I made my way there each day to show that I loved her so much. And she almost passed, but I wouldn't let her go. And I prayed that somehow inside she would know. In a comatose state, she remained, but alive, till she began to get better. And again, she survived. At 16, I left home. I was a wild, angry teen, thinking that nobody really could see. And she would whisper often over the phone, "No, my sweet Chelsie, this is always your home." 18, it came with what I believed was big news, and I called and I said, "Mom, I'm gay." And she replied, "Well, we knew." "I love you," she said, "no matter to us, and when there's another, we'll love her as much." 22 revealed a cancer so rare, and it was right at her birthday when she lost all her hair. And she cried on my shoulder, and we all shaved our heads, and I stayed every day on the couch by her bed. Again, she survived, the second person in the world to beat such a blow that life had unfurled. My mom was the hero and ever the strength that held it together and never would break. My father was Navy, he was gone quite a bit. My mother, she raised us, she steered the ship. It wasn't always easy, but there was always enough. And when things got bad, it's when she never let up. My mom always told me, she said, life can be cruel, so decide to be happy, because that's up to you.